Info Ninja. Welcome back to the dojo, everybody. Thank you for coming back and listening after we took a vacation last week. It was much needed, and I'll tell you, I'm fired up for this episode. I almost did one last week during vacation just because I was so fired up about this topic. And the overall point of this entire episode is very basic. Stop. Shut up, stop, and listen. You are not a financial expert. I know you like to decide that you are when Trump is doing something you don't like, but believe it or not, you are not educated on tariffs. They're really basic. That's the amount of money that we charge another country to bring in a product into our country. That's what a tariff is. Bing! Stop right there. You don't need to go any further with it. You don't need to get into the weeds with the tariff because you don't know what you're talking about. And the person you're listening to, the podcast, the YouTube video, the mainstream media, they don't know what they're talking about either. All of a sudden, everybody became a financial expert as soon as Trump started to do something with our economy and with the way we do business in this country. So stop and just listen. Shut up. Stop saying things about the market and about tariffs and just listen to what I'm going to tell you today. And then hopefully after you hear what I'm going to say, you will take my advice and continue to just shut up.
Shut up!
So first of all, none of the shows you're watching, none of the podcasts you're listening to or the YouTube videos that you're viewing, none of those people hosting those are financial experts. If they were, where have they been for the last 50 years? We kind of have some misplaced anger right now. People are angry at Donald Trump and at Elon Musk and at the Republicans, and they should really be pissed off about the last 50 years worth of politicians that created the mess that we're in right now. That's where your anger should be. Somebody had to put on their big boy pants and do something, and I am proud of Donald Trump and his brass balls for being willing to actually do something. But none of the podcasters that you're listening to are experts. Where have they been? If they're experts and they have all these solutions, have they just been keeping them secret until now? Have they been keeping their ideas of how to do things secret? For some reason, I don't understand why all of a sudden they're speaking up like they've got a better idea. Well, if you had a better idea, where have you been? Where have you been for the last 50 years? No, you don't have a better idea. Most of it is not even solutions. Most of it is just complaints. But again, if you're complaining, what's your solution? And if you have a solution, where have you been? Have you just been keeping it secret as a joke? I don't understand this. You have these very prominent, well-known conservative podcasters that are talking bad about tariffs and bad about the market and the things that Donald Trump is doing. And I'm going, okay, number one, then what's your solution? And okay, number two, if you do have solutions, it kind of feels like you should have brought those up like when Barack Obama was president and things were collapsing in 2008. But I can go on and on about that. But I just want to again state, I am very proud of our American president, Donald Trump, and his brass balls. And remember, he is the president of America. He cares what happens to America being good. If another country is being hurt by our tariffs, if another country is being hurt by our financial decisions, I don't care. It's another country. I care about this country, and I want a president who cares about this country. But it cracks me up how many people, some on the conservative side, mostly on the liberal side, are very, very concerned with other countries and how they're doing, but not too concerned with America. And that's because they have this deep-seated idea that we're a terrible country, that we stole our land and everything we did was because of white supremacy, and it comes out in everything that they do.
He ain't lying.
So we're going to go into multiple reasons why you need to just stop and shut up. But ultimately, the stop all, and if you get into an argument with somebody about tariffs or about anything, the ultimate stop all, how you can just keep repeating this line because there is no overcoming this statement. Here's the stop all for everybody. We're 36 trillion with a T, $36 trillion in debt. We've been spending like drunken sailors for the last 50 to 75 years, and nobody, literally nobody, no American president has done anything to stop it or change it. And finally, when somebody has a big enough set of cojones, has the brass balls of Donald Trump, and he actually does it, and he knew it was coming, he gets criticized to high heaven. But again, $36 trillion in debt. And many people are going to say, well, yeah, we get it. We know we have to do something. Obviously, we're $36 trillion in debt, but we don't have to do it the way that Donald Trump is doing it. Stop. Where have you been? Where have you been keeping your solution secret? So shut up. Shut up! You have an opinion now because it's popular to have an opinion, and you are not a financial expert. And you really don't have to be a financial expert to understand free trade and understand how tariffs work. But again, $36 trillion in debt, folks. Social Security was drying up. It's dead. Politicians have been raping that program for decades now. Donald Trump is the first one, and Elon Musk, working for him, is the first person to actually do something about it and get it to a point where Social Security will survive. You're going to be able to get it now. Your kids are going to be able to get Social Security now because we're not giving it out to 250-year-olds anymore. This kind of stuff needed to stop. Somebody with brass balls needed to do something. We're $36 trillion in debt. So if you're in that conversation with your conservative friend who's kind of a neocon, or you're in that conversation with that liberal family member who's a complete moron, and they bring up all the tariffs, you can tell them, hey, you don't really understand what you're talking about, or hey, you don't really understand the stock market. You could say that to them, and you're probably just going to create more talking points and more arguing. So use the stop all. Go, hey, one second. We're $36 trillion in debt. Are you suggesting that we just keep business as usual? That's what the liberals are suggesting. We just kept it business as usual. And then the neocons out there that are anti what Trump is doing right now, their suggestions all of a sudden are popping up. Again, where have you been? Where have you been? You didn't have a solution because you didn't really care about this until it became popular to care about it. $36 trillion in debt, folks. $36 trillion. And again, tariffs are not complicated. They're trying to make them seem complicated. If a country charges us 20%, we're going to charge them 20%. That's how it works. Until we negotiate down to zero tariffs. We don't charge you a tariff. You don't charge us a tariff. And then we have what's called real free trade. That's the end goal of all of this. Remember, Donald Trump is a businessman who does negotiations. He wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. In that book, he talks about the big ask. You ask for more or greater than what you actually want, to the point where it's almost absurd. People are going, are you kidding me? He's asking for that. He's doing that. That's not his end game. If we get that, that would really be great. But really, he's asking for 100 and he really wants 50, and he ends up with 75. The guy became a billionaire and a successful businessman for a reason. It's because he knows how to negotiate and make deals. How many of the podcasts, honest question, how many of the podcasters and the YouTubers and even the articles that you're reading on your phone or in the paper, who reads the paper anymore? I don't know. But all of those people, okay, honest question for you. How many of them are multi-billionaire deal makers? The answer, zero. Not one of those people that you're getting your financial information from or advice from is a billionaire deal maker who's been very successful and wrote a book about it. None of them have been. So if you're going to start a business and you could hire that podcaster or the billionaire businessman to run your business, who would you pick? Obviously, you'd pick the billionaire. Why are you picking everybody else to get your financial advice from right now? It doesn't make any sense. So stop it. We're $36 trillion in debt. You are not a financial expert. If you are and you've got great ideas, where have you been? Where have you been? Why we accumulated the $36 trillion in debt. And a reminder, Donald Trump's only been president for 3 months. I don't know know how some people are going to make it the whole 4 years. I think there's probably going to be another attempt on his life, or maybe several attempts on his life, because people just can't stand with their TDS having him around. Remember, the Republican never Trumpers still exist, okay? They're hiding themselves right now under the veil of anti-tariff and we want to save America, but really they're just anti-Trump. If they wanted to save America, where have they been for the last 50 years? Where have they been while we accumulated $36 trillion in debt? And I can hear you screaming at your phones or at your radio right now going, Info Ninja, you're not a financial expert either. Yeah, you read some books maybe. Yeah, you've traded some stocks, but you don't know anything about tariffs. You don't know anything about the stock market. Why should we get our advice from you, and you're telling us not to get it from anybody else? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, hey, let's not make this complicated. We're $36 trillion in debt. The man has been president for 3 months, and he's the only president in my lifetime and in several lifetimes that is actually doing something, actually taking action. Republicans haven't done anything. Democrats have done terrible things. Trump is the only guy to actually do something. He knows that the ship is sinking, and he knows it's not popular to be throwing the fat people off the boat first so it doesn't sink, but he'd rather save the boat and most people on it. It's not popular, but it's something that has to be done.
Amen.
And ultimately, this is all tribal, folks. It really is all tribal. Here's a little thought experiment for you. Take everything that Donald Trump is doing right now with the economy, with tariffs, take all of that and have Kamala Harris and Joe Biden be doing it. The Democrats would be blown away. They'd be so happy, and he's such a brave president to do this kind of thing. Yeah, and every single supporter of these things with Trump would be anti it. It doesn't matter if Trump's doing it and they're for it. If Biden was doing it, they wouldn't be for it. It's a big tribal thing. That's all it is, folks. It's all picking your team. And I am picking, me personally, the Info Ninja, I'm picking Team America. I want my president to do what's best for America, not for the Ukraine, not for the UK, none of the U's out there. The only U I care about is USA. That's me and you, our country that we live in. And I know we have people listening around the world, and I care about other countries. I don't want bad things to happen to you, but America comes first.
Damn, boy.
So ultimately what this is, folks, is that with the market, we're seeing big market corrections. This stuff, the interest rates and everything else, has been artificially propped up for decades now. Okay, so rich people can get richer. It's all been a big fugazi, a big fake, and we're actually getting a real correction. An example is like the real estate market. You see that home in your neighborhood and you're like, how is that 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom home $350,000? That doesn't make any sense. It's because the market's out of whack. The supply and demand isn't real. But when it actually corrects and that $350,000 house ends up being a $150,000 house, which is still pretty expensive for a 1 bedroom, 1 bath. I guess it depends on where you're at. But when that corrects, it goes to the actual price it should have been. If you were the moron that bought it for $350,000 and you just lost half of the value of the home, I'm sorry for you. That sucks, but you bought into an artificial market. So we're seeing the markets correct right now, and the secret is wait it out. That's how stock market always has worked. You wait it out. Everything that was lost in 2008 eventually came back and then some. And that's what's going to happen in this country. The market is going to come back and then some, because it's not just coming back into the same country, it's coming back in an improved country with less wasteful spending, with more tariff revenue coming in, with real even free trade happening. Your accounts are going to bounce back and then some. So stop. Just be patient. And I'm going to leave you with this. And please, folks, remember this when you're talking about tariffs. Every argument against tariffs is an argument for income tax. Every Every single time you say, we don't want tariffs, you're saying, I'd rather fund this country by the government taking some of my income. It wasn't always that way. I know we got used to it because the income tax has been around for so long, but that's not how this country was founded. We don't need income tax. We can do it via tariff. So every time you talk negative about tariffs, you're actually talking positive for income tax. And I don't know why you are so hell-bent on paying income tax. I don't know. It's not patriotic, folks, okay? Paying as little taxes as possible is actually the most American thing you can do. So stop it. Shut up. You're not an expert. You're not a tariff guru. You probably don't even understand the stock market. And none of the people you're watching or listening to really understand it more than me or you. They definitely are not billionaire businessmen who have the big ask and are doing the art of the deal. They're podcasters. So remember this. We're $36 trillion in debt, folks, and nobody has done anything until Donald Trump. I'm proud of my America First president. Hi-yow! Info Ninja. If you liked what you heard, please give me a thumbs up, a comment, and a share. You can find us on X at Info Ninja Show, on Rumble, Truth Social, YouTube, and of course, anywhere podcasts are sold.